Yeah, I'm gonna say it. He's probably the most interesting Red Wings prospect in their system, and it's not because he's a big guy, or he's a skilled guy, or he's got one projectable quality that makes him so different from everybody else. It's the fact that he is indeed a player whose name you might be familiar with, and quite literally so. Let's talk today about the most interesting prospect in the Red Wings system, a guy taken in the 2020 NHL Entry Draft as a 7th round pick. Today we're talking about Chilliwack Chiefs forward Keenan Draper. And I know if you're an older time Red Wings fan, you're like, wait a minute, that sounds a little bit familiar. And yeah, that is quite true. Keenan Draper is the son of legendary Red Wings forward Kris Draper, who happens to be the current Red Wings Director of Amateur Scouting, a role that he took over in 2019-20 and that he still holds today. And this was the tagline that we had back when we made the scouting report video, not even scouting report video, heck, just the update video, just the hey, the Red Wings made a move video back during the 2020 NHL Draft. We talked about how the Red Wings not only drafted Kris Draper's son, but they also drafted Adrian Aucoin's son as well, in a video where we talked about both Keenan Draper and Kyle Aucoin being taken by the Wings in 2 separate picks. But either way, this video is going over Keenan Draper and the entire update to his stock and what he has done so far as a Red Wings prospect. Because he is drafted by the organization, he is under the organization's rights, and they're going to have his rights for a while. This is just a very legit name that we can talk about. However, I don't really know how confident I am in Keenan Draper's long-term projectability, and I'll get into why that is as we go along in this video, but pretty much to give you the rundown here, Keenan Draper was drafted 187th overall by the Red Wings in the 2020 NHL Draft. He is born February 19th, 2002, making him 20 years old today. As you can see, he was born in Royal Oak, Michigan, USA, because his father, Kris, was playing with the Red Wings when he was born. He's 6'1", 198 as a right-handed right-wing forward, and if you go over to the NHL Draft Projections, I mean, nobody had this guy ranked. It was only NHL Central Scouting who had him as the 186th North American skater on their list, and if you're familiar with the way Central Scouting does their thing, they have a North American list and a European list, so if you're 186 on the North American list, it's quite likely that you're not going to even get drafted in the first place. However, that was not the case with Keenan Draper. When he was drafted in 2020, he had recently wrapped up a season with St. Andrews College in the CAHS. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm really not all too familiar with the way this junior program works and how it coincides with the other Canadian programs that exist, and it's difficult to try to find a label here. But either way, St. Andrews College is, if my understanding is correct, either a Junior A or a Junior B hockey team. It says on Google that they play games with the GOJHL, which is a Junior B league, so I'm not really too sure how exactly St. Andrews College functions within the junior Canadian hockey system here. If anybody does know, then please let me know in the comments what that's about so I can actually get educated on this. But either way, Keenan Draper was a point-per-game player playing for this supposedly Junior B level, maybe Junior A level team. Quickly, going over to the Red Wings website, you can see a quote here from Steve Yzerman. A couple of our scouts, one in Ontario who followed Keenan at St. Andrews College last year, and one of our scouts who was following in Chilliwack, they were pushing pretty hard to get this guy. Kris and I, Kris Draper, had a brief conversation about it recently, and initially I said, hey, are you sure you want to put your son in that position? And then ultimately, my answer to him was, your obligation is to do whatever is right for the Red Wings, and I trust your judgment. And I know he did that. Kris Draper said he would not have selected his own son if his own son didn't deserve it. Obviously, I'm super proud and excited, but my job is to draft prospects that I feel are going to be a part of the Red Wings going forward. I believe in Keenan, and just as importantly, guys on our staff believed in him as well, and that's how he ended up making that decision. He's continued to get better. He has earned his position on our draft list by continuing to get better, too. This entire article goes over his history. He grew up in Joe Louis Arena. He had played for the Little Caesars AAA hockey scene in his amateur career. He skated at the Joe. He skated at Little Caesars Arena. He skated at Belfour, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the work that he's put in. However, when you go over to Keenan Draper and his profile, ever since then, it kind of gets a little bit tainted as to projecting where he is going to go down the line. You see, as an 18-year-old, Keenan Draper made his debut in the USHL for the Omaha Lancers. This is the top junior league in the States, and he had 7 points in 37 games played. Now, that's really not a great number. I get it, he's transitioning to a new system, a new team, whatever, but at the same time, you take a look at some of the guys that were draft eligible that season in 2020-2021, and you can see that some of them were absolute crazy point producers. Cole Sillinger was drafted by the Blue Jackets that year. He had 46 points in 31 games played. You have other players on other teams as well as the NTDP, like defensemen Shai Buiam and Redmond Savage, two guys that eventually became Red Wings who produced more than Keenan Draper did at a younger age too. This season, you saw Keenan Draper actually take a step back in terms of the hockey hierarchy. He went from the USHL, which is the top junior league in the US, to the BCHL, which is Junior A hockey here in British Columbia. He played for the Chilliwack Chiefs, and he had 50 points in 53 games played, which is good to see. You like to see a guy go out there and produce points in the way that he had been. And if you go over to the Chilliwack Chiefs in their Twitter account, you can see that hey, Keenan Draper was their MVP, he did it all for our team this season, he pulled our team into the fight with his willingness in all areas, and he always seemed to step up with a big play to get us going at the right time. He had himself a whole bunch of 3 Stars awards, and he was also the most dedicated player on the team. He's a player that we almost completely had to kick off the ice some days, incredibly competitive, always working on his craft, whether it be on the ice or in the gym. But you gotta remember the fact that Keenan Draper is 20 years old. He was 19 turning 20 the entire 2021-2022 season, and the BCHL is Junior A hockey in British Columbia. There have been other players who have become NHL athletes from the BCHL before, but the ones that stand out are the ones who actually exhibited better numbers at younger ages as well. Go over to some of the recent draftees that tore up the BCHL in the past. Kent Johnson was an absolute maniac, a demon out there for the Trail Smoke Eaters, and he accomplished what he did, 2 points a game pretty much, in his draft minus 1 year. You have Alex Newhook, who played his draft season in the BCHL, and he also produced like crazy too. These guys had 2 point per game years, and if you go back even further, hey, let's talk about 2015-16. Tyson Jost was one of the top players there. He had over 2 points a game, and he became a top 10 pick in the 2016 draft because of it. He did that at 17, turning 18 years old. For Keenan Draper, being just at a point per game at 20 years old flat is kind of concerning if you're looking for long-term NHL projectability with his profile. In fact, he's going over to the University of Michigan next, so that's why the Red Wings will hold on to his rights for a long time, because he is taking the NCAA route. And if you go over to MaizenBrew.com, this is a website that focuses on the Michigan Wolverines and their sporting programs, you can see this article published on May 4th, 2022, Getting to Know Michigan Hockey's 2022 Recruiting Class. The first name they list is indeed Keenan Draper. If the last name sounds familiar, it's because it should. He's the son of Red Wings forward Kris Draper, yada yada yada. Draper is a physical player whose 200-foot game contributes equally on offense and defense. Initially, Draper's best opportunity to gain ice time will be on the PK unit, but as he settles in, his blistering one-timer and style of play are ideal for Michigan's fourth line. This is a player that will probably spend his 20-year-old year making his debut in the NCAA and potentially just being a fourth-line guy. Definitely not the development path that spells for sure guaranteed NHL stardom down the line, but at the same time, it is interesting to follow his career path at all. Like, he was a 7th round pick, so I'm not going to go out there and pretend like Keenan Draper is a bust or whatever. Like, no, this guy might not have even been drafted had it not been for the Red Wings putting their eyes on him and seeing what he was about. But when all things are considered, when you take a look at Kris Draper and the career that he had, the Red Wings obviously benefited from his services over the years. It might not be the most likely thing in the world to bet that the son, Keenan Draper, is going to make, let's say, even a sliver of the impact that his father made with the regular Red Wings team down the line. Now, if he does become an absolute stud, then okay, I'll eat my words and I'll say, hey, the Red Wings got an NHL player in the 7th round that is absolutely phenomenal. It's just so far from the USHL to the BCHL, seeing where he is going with the NCAA, maybe just being a fourth-line guy over there, it's not really looking all too great, but still. This is a development path the Red Wings are going to have under their system for a long time, because NCAA players, their rights with NHL teams extend until they become seniors. So we've got at least 2, 3, 4 years until we see Keenan Draper taking the next step, if that's even an option for him in his NHL career. So talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Keenan Draper, the weirdest, most interesting Red Wings prospect they have in the system, obviously because he is the son of the director of amateur scouting and a former Red Wings legend in Kris Draper as well. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about Keenan and his development. How has he played so far? If you're a fan of the Chilliwack Chiefs, then hey, please let me know in the comments all your thoughts about this player and what he was like for your team. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.